I'd like to show you how to work double decreases in reversible lace. Now you'll recall a double decrease is when you have 3 stitches and you reduce them to 1 stitch by decreasing away 2 stitches, hence the term double decrease. In a previous video, I showed you how to work the centered double decrease, where the center stitch is on the top of the stack, and that produces a very prominent vertical line. In this video, I'm going to show you how to work the regular double decrease, where the center stitch is on the bottom of the stack. Usually it's worked with the right stitch on top of the stack, but it can be worked with the left stitch on top of the stack. As you can see from the swatch, the regular double decrease tends to break up the vertical line, so it's a little more horizontal in its orientation. So let's get started. For double decrease, remember you need to pause your knitting 1 pair before your central spine. So I stopped here, not here. When working reversibly, there are 6 stitches involved in this maneuver, so I'm going to use a cable needle. And I start by putting the knit stitches on the cable needle and the purl stitches on the right needle. Okay, I don't have to slip that last purl stitch. I'm going to take these 2 purls and put them over on the left needle with their friend. So I have 3 purl stitches together on the left needle and 3 knit stitches together on the cable needle. The first part of the maneuver is the Knitwise Decrease, and I work that pretty much the normal way you work a double decrease. So that would be slip a stitch knitwise, or slip a stitch as if to knit, which means insert the right needle as if you're going to knit the stitch, and then don't knit it, just slip it off the left needle. Now I knit 2 together, so stitches 2 and 3 are worked together, and then very gently pass stitch number 1, the slipped stitch, pass it over. You don't want to stretch it out of shape. So that's the knitwise part. I can put the cable needle away. Now for the purl-wise part, I bring the yarn to the front. The purl version starts with slip 2 together knitwise, or slip 2 together as if to knit, which means act like you are going to knit 2 stitches together, and then once again you don't work them, you just slide them off the left needle onto the right needle. Now slip the 3rd stitch as if to knit, put all 3 stitches back on the left needle. Now at this point you're going to purl them together, but you don't purl them together this way, which is the usual way of purling 3 stitches together. You purl 3 stitches together but up through the back of the loop, so you have to come around behind, and it's sort of up from behind like that, and purl 3 together up through the back of the loop. And there we are. So now I'm going to work across my swatch over to the other section and show you the other 2 maneuvers you might want to know. So these first 2 maneuvers I just showed you produces a decrease where the center stitch is on the bottom of the stack and the right stitch is on the top of the stack, and it looks that way from either side of the fabric. The 2 maneuvers I'm about to show you produce a decrease where the center stitch is still on the bottom of the stack, but this time the left stitch will be on the top of the stack, and it will be so from either side of the fabric. Okay, so once again, I stop one pair before my central spine. Once again, I get my cable needle, knit stitches go on the cable needle, and purl stitches go on the right needle for a moment and then over to the left needle. So once again, purls as a group, knits as a group. So the Knitwise version of this is slip one as if to knit, slip the second stitch as if to knit. Now I'm going to return them to the cable needle, which I'm treating as if it were the left needle. And rather than returning them the usual way, which would look like that, I'm going to return them but through the back of the loop. So instead of putting the cable needle left to right, I put the cable needle right to left. So it's a little awkward and a little strange. But the reward for doing this is everybody is in the correct order, and now I can just knit 3 together. And the Knitwise version is done, so the cable needle can go away. For the purl-wise version, yarn to the front because I'm going to purl. I start by slipping the first stitch. I'm just sliding it over to park it on the right needle because I don't need it right away. The problem here is stitches 2 and stitches 3. I would really like stitch number 3 to pass around behind stitch number 2 and be over here. And the easiest way for me to do that is to reorder them in a maneuver that's very similar to what I used for the left-leaning and right-leaning reversible decreases, if you happen to have watched those 2 videos. Take the right needle, bring it around behind stitch number 2, and put it in stitch number 3. Now I have a moment of terror coming up. I am going to take the left needle. I'm going to pull it out of both stitch number 2 and stitch number 3, which, yes, this means stitch number 2 is going to be live and loose for a moment or so. And then I will immediately put the left needle back in stitch number 2, but not in stitch number 3. So here goes the moment of terror. Eee! There we are. And now I can put stitch number 3 up on the left needle, and stitch number 1 also up on the left needle. And the advantage of what I just did is that all I have to do is purl 3 together. And the purl-wise version of the decrease is completed. So I'm going to work over to the end of the row, and then let me show you what this fabric looks like. Because it turns out that symmetry and reversibility are peculiar things. So on the front side, or right side, or obverse of the fabric, you can see the decrease leans away from the edge and towards the center. And it does the same over here, away from the edge and towards the center. But when I flip the work around, if you look on the back side or wrong side or reverse of the fabric, now the decrease leans out. It leans towards the edge and away from the center on both edges of the fabric. So as I said, it turns out that symmetry and reversibility are peculiar things. If I had wanted both sides of this swatch to be identical, then what I needed to do was match the left-leaning Knitwise Decrease with the right-leaning purl-wise Decrease and vice versa. So that's just a long way of saying that you can match either purl decrease with either knit decrease. And when you're designing on your own, be sure to swatch and see what you get and make sure that you get what you want. But there you are. Those are the 4 maneuvers you need to know in order to work double decreases in reversible lace.